Hi there and welcome back to the channel. We have now reached the penultimate leg of the East Lothian Tourist Coastal Trail. We started off in Dunbar and travelled through several towns and villages, including Belhaven, Tyningham, Whitekirk, North Berwick, Durlton, Gullen and Aberlady, looking at interesting and historic places along the way. In today's video, we continue our trip through Port Seton, Cockenzie and Prestongrange. Cockenzie and Port Seton have evolved from two small fishing villages into the town we see today. The borough of Cockenzie was created in 1591 by James VI of Scotland. The historic areas between the two harbours preserve a traditional atmosphere, reminiscent of many East Coast fishing villages in Scotland. While fishing has declined over time, Port Seton Harbour still supports a small fleet, primarily fishing for prawns. In earlier years, Cockenzie also played a role in salt making and coal mining. On the right is Port Seton Harbour. The origins of Port Seton Harbour lie a little inland at the tiny hamlet of Seton, where Seton Palace was built by the Setons in the early 1600s. The 11th Lord Seton built a harbour at what became known as Port Seton in 1655. This grew primarily as a fishing harbour, though it also served the Setons' estates. A great deal of trade was carried out from the harbour in the 18th century. Exports were characteristically salt and coal. By 1810, the harbour was scarcely usable. Since the ousting of the Setons, its upkeep seems to have been neglected, and a series of storms gradually swept the heavy masonry away. It was not until 1880 that a new harbour was built here by the engineering brothers David and Thomas Stevenson at a cost of £12,000. Today, the harbour is home to a small fishing fleet and pleasure crafts. As we continue towards Cockenzie Harbour, to the left is Cockenzie House. The house was built by George Seton, the 4th Earl of Winton, in the 1680s, when constructing the new harbour at Port Seton, possibly for or then used by the manager of the salt pans and harbour. The Cadell family, merchants from Haddington, bought the house in the late 18th century after the bankruptcy of the York Building Company. The Cadells worked coal mines and salt pans, as well as owning the Wagon Way, which we plan to cover in a future video. During the Second World War, the house provided a home for evacuated children. Thereafter, it briefly became a teaching college and then a nursing home. In the 1970s, the old warehouse was gutted by fire, but was reconstructed in the 1990s to provide additional bedrooms for the nursing home, which closed in 2008. The building has now been renovated and houses offices, studio space, businesses, gift shops, and a cafe. To the right is Cockenzie Harbour. Cockenzie Harbour is the smaller and older of the two harbours in the combined settlement of Cockenzie and Port Seton. The harbour is a tidal leisure and fishing haven, dating from the 16th century or earlier. At that time, it comprised of a small natural harbour, protected by a pair of rocky ridges. It was chartered as a free port by King James VI in 1591, and a brisk trade is recorded between here and the Flanders in the 17th century, when Cockenzie Harbour is said to have had good facilities. The harbour was improved around 1650 by George Seton, the 3rd Earl of Winton, chiefly in connection with his new salt pans, but it was largely destroyed by a storm in the mid-17th century. Today's harbour was built in 1835 by Robert Stevenson for the Caddells, who were shipping coal from Cockenzie to the north of Scotland, England, France and Germany. The harbour is now owned and operated by East Lothian Council and is used by a handful of small fishing vessels with moorings for leisure craft. As we leave Cockenzie, on the right is the site of the former Cockenzie Power Station, which was a major employer for the 1960s until it closed in 2013. The demolition of the power station was done in stages, with the twin chimneys and turbine hall being demolished in a controlled explosion on the 26th of September 2015. The main boiler house was demolished on the 17th of December 2015. This was the last remaining structure to be removed. The site is now a regeneration area, which is being prepared for mixed future use, including industrial, energy-related infrastructure and other commercial developments. Next stop, Preston Pans. Legend says Preston Pans was founded in the 11th century, when a shipwrecked seafarer named Althamer and his companions settled here. By the 12th century, monks from Newbattle and Holyrood Abbey were making salt along the shoreline, using iron pans over fires to evaporate seawater. This salt-making activity gave the town its name, Prieststown by the Pans, eventually shortened to Preston Pans. To the right is the Robert Burns Memorial. There are two parts to this memorial, the shelter and the cairn. The shelter was built in 1959 by the Aerts Burns Club members, using public subscription to commemorate the bicentenary of the country's national bard's birth. Over the doorway of the shelter bears the Burns line, "Better a wee bush than a nae bield." Nae bield is a Scottish expression meaning no sanctuary. In 2005, local artist Kate Hunter was commissioned by the Prestongrange Arts Festival to create a mural depicting the tale of Tam O'Shanter. The mural depicts surreal imagery in which the title character witnesses witches, warlocks, and even the devil himself playing the bagpipes. The cairn was unveiled on the 21st of July 1996 to commemorate the bicentenary of the poet's death. The interior was hollow, going down to approximately 2 feet below ground level. A time capsule was placed within the hollow chamber. The capsule, made of stainless steel, contains various artifacts donated by the individual local clubs. When finally placed in the cairn, liquid cement was poured in, sealing the interior completely. To the right is the Preston Pans War Memorial, dedicated to the men of the parish who fell during the Great Wars. Crafted from Duddingston stone by the sculptor William Burney Rind and unveiled on the 30th of April 1922, the memorial features a 7-foot-tall soldier of the Royal Scots standing on a 9-foot pedestal. The front face of the pedestal bears the dedication, while the remaining 3 sides list the names of 143 local men who died in the First World War, arranged alphabetically. A sloping tablet was later added to the front, recording the names of 40 servicemen killed in the Second World War. 75 names from World War I have been added to new panels on the walls of the north side of the small square, and 12 names for World War II. On the left, next to the Town Hall, is the Battle of Preston Pans Jacobite Heritage Centre. We will not go into too much detail today, as we plan to produce several videos on Preston Pans, including the 1745 battle, the pyramid, and the murals which are scattered around the town. On the right is the Prestongrange totem pole. Carved from giant red cedar brought from Vancouver Island, the totem pole blends Indigenous carving traditions with the story of Preston Pans itself. The pole was created by Indigenous carvers from Vancouver Island, working alongside Scottish artist Kenny Grieve, with help from local people and school children. Before we leave Preston Pans, we had to mention the Preston Market Cross. Erected in 1617, it was once the focal point of the town. At its base is a substantial circular drum of masonry, containing a chamber that formerly served as the town jail. Above this is a raised platform used for issuing public proclamations, from the centre of which the shaft of the market cross rises. And this week, this is where we hid the Drone Man Scotland keyring. So if you want one, this is where it is. Good luck! As we leave Preston Pans, this is where we will end today's video, but not before we take a wee look at Sam Burns' yard. It's a great wee place to have a rummage amongst the antiques. So join us next time for the final leg through Prestongrange and Musselburgh, ending the tour at Fisher Row Harbour. Once again, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like share and comment on the video. It is very much appreciated. See you next time, and bye for now.